Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It's me, Minister Daron Moore, aka the teacher, or many of my students know me as Mr. Moore. Anyway, here I'm coming to you from Reformation Ministries Community Bible Study, and what we're doing today is just a recap of our lesson this week. As you know, anybody who's here in the Portsmouth area, we're currently starting a community Bible study that we do every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock here at our home in Cavalier Manor in Portsmouth. And this is parts of the beginning of starting our church of Reformation Ministries. You're welcome to come on out and join us at any time. But we want to just talk to you about a little lesson that we had this week. This week, our last lesson was about John chapter 19. And in the book of St. John, we studied about Jesus' crucifixion. And I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about the crucifixion and wondered, why is it important? See, me, myself, I'll just put myself out there. Maybe it's just me. But, I used to always think, well, what's so bad about the crucifixion? What was it so greater about the torture that Jesus went through as opposed to anybody else? The slaves, they were tortured. They were whipped. So what was any different? And tonight's lesson helped us to learn about that. A couple of things we learned about, first of all, is that Jesus made a voluntary choice to go through what he did. That alone is just mind-boggling when you think that, he actually made a voluntary choice to say, you know what, I'm going to be whipped and I'm going to be put on a cross for people that don't love me. Now, many of us don't even like to do stuff for people that do like us. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we could be cheap about something and, if somebody that we like, okay, well, we'll pinch a penny and give them something or splurge or something like that. But we're talking about for people that you don't even know, that don't even like you, that are out to kill you. That's the choice that he made. Another thing that, I really learned tonight is that there's a verse in John, and in John chapter 19, where it says that simply, then Pilate took Jesus and had him scourged. And that alone is all that John states. But when we really take a look at and do some studying and background, Google it if you want. Take a look and Google the crucifixion of Jesus from a doctor's perspective. And you'll find some interesting stuff out there. First of all, that scourging wasn't just a little whipping like you get from your grandma. Now, we know and we complain about them switch whippings. Grandma go find a trick, find a switch. Boy, give me that switch off that tree. But nah, this wasn't one of those. They used a leather whip with leather thongs. And on the end of that, they had pieces and balls of lead. Now, y'all know lead is the heaviest metal anywhere. But we're talking about they had pieces of lead and bone built into it that they had sewn into the end of it. So it was designed so that when the Roman centurion, when they hit you, or whoever the guard was, when they hit you, it was designed to tear meat out of your back. And they had mastered this art of torture. Because the Romans, as you know, anything they did, they saw somebody do it and they took it one better. And they had it mastered to a science. So much to the point that when people were scourged, many people didn't even survive it. So now if you can imagine going through that, to a point where the flesh is ripped off of your back, to the point where the lead hits you, causes the blood blisters to form, and then after that you get hit again to break it open, to a point where your back is a bleeding, just unrecognizable mess, to the point where your skin is like ribbons. That's what Jesus went through. Then after that, he was forced to take his cross. Take up his cross and follow. Y'all heard that saying? Anybody who's willing to follow me, take up your cross and follow me. Well, he took up his cross. And that thing was 110 pounds. If you notice, there were two parts of a cross. The vertical part, that stayed where it was until it was the time of execution. Jesus took the cross beam, as we'll call it, and that was mounted to his back. And he had to go a distance of about 600 yards to the hill where he was going to be crucified. The place of Golgotha, called the stone, the place of the skull. And if you can imagine that, that's 6 football fields. walking with 110 pounds on your back after almost being beaten half to death. Then, in addition, after that, when he was hung up on the cross and nailed to the cross, the different torture that he went through, you know, first of all, the crucifixion was one of the most excruciating types of torture that anybody could go through. As a matter of fact, that's where we get our modern word excruciating from crucifixion. That's how well they mastered it. And to a point where it was designed to literally cause you to die from asphyxiation. And just to give you just a glimpse of it, because we don't have time to go totally into it. For that, you need to come out on Tuesday. But just to give you a glimpse, if you can imagine just the simplest part of being nailed up, and as you're nailed up, you have your arms outstretched, and they are nailed through your wrist. So it wasn't through the palm, because if it was through your palm, actually, then the nail would just slip under the weight of your body. But it was through your wrists, and then also through your feet. So what happens is you're sitting outstretched. You can't breathe. So as you begin to try to pull yourself up to be able to exhale and to gasp of breath, then what happens is you do that, you push down on your foot. Then guess what? When you try to, after that, when you rest, you're resting on your foot and hurting again. This was so torturous in such a repeated cycle. You know, this is what Jesus went through for us. Not to mention that literally what happened, and what I want you to do is take a look for yourself. Google it. And as you Google it, take a look and see what happens to the pericardium. Literally, Jesus died of a broken heart for us. Because with all of that blood loss, the blood began to coagulate and began to be a massive, sluggish mess. And as the heart tried to pump that out to the arteries, as it was being lost, the heart just gave up. There was a fluid sac that surrounded his heart. Guess what? That was for us. Now, this is the last thing that I just want to share with you, is that in reading that and thinking about that, and we've all seen the Passion, but just thinking about it and reading that, the Bible says that, in the Bible in Hebrews 6:6, it says that anybody who's walking with God faithfully, has a walk with him in a relationship, and then turns around and turns their back on him after walking with him knowingly, crucifies the Son of God afresh. Now here's my question to you. Is that what you're doing in your life? Have you been walking with God before and now are at a point where you have turned away and literally you're taking the nails in your hand, the hammer in your hand, and hammering it again and crucifying him again? You might as well be the one that has the whip in your hands, whipping him, tearing out the flesh from his back, causing him to suffer agonizing torture for us. Think about that. Is that you? I pray that it's not. But anyway, that's just a short recap of what we studied tonight in John chapter 19. For more, you got to come on out with us on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. in Cavalier Manor in Portsmouth, Virginia. You can check us out on Facebook. We'll probably put up a little blog here or there on YouTube and let you know what's going on. But make sure you come out and visit us, all right? I love y'all. Be blessed.